Hello there. Good afternoon. Today, we're going to talk about Chapter 2, Disputes for Trade in Goods, or disputes for over trade in goods. Okay. It's basically related to the WTO Annex 1A. 1A. One A is about multilateral agreements for trade in goods, right? 1B is about general agreement on trade in services, right? GATS. And 1C is trade-related agreements on intellectual property rights, right? Okay, good. Then, in Chapter 2, we've got 3 cases in total. 3. If you have previewed it before this class, you may notice that the first case is about what? The theme, as you can see here, definitive anti-dumping and countervailing duties. Okay, it's about anti-dumping. Yes, anti-dumping and countervailing duties, right? Then, what's the step before countervailing duties? There's one important step. It's called subsidization. Then, we must first have subsidization. Then we've got countervailing measures. And that's why the agreement, have you ever heard of this agreement? Subsidies and countervailing measures. This is an agreement, one of the 13 specific agreements. And then 13 specific agreements, right? And SCM is just one of the 13 specific agreements. Okay? Good. And about anti-dumping, we also got a specific agreement. It's called can you guess what does this stand for? Anti-dumping agreement. Okay? Anti-dumping agreement, it's also one of the 13 specific agreements. Okay? Good. So this is the section 1. U.S. anti-dumping and countervailing duties. This is the first case. And the second case is about what? Section 2. Section 1, Section 2. The second case is about, the theme of the second case is about what? Who's the team leader of team 2? Team leader of group 2? Oh, you. So have you ever noticed that the theme of your team's case, the case is about what? At least the theme, the subject of your case? It's about what? The case name is China Raw Materials, right? Okay, please be seated. Raw materials. Raw materials, for example, the magnesium. What's that? And the manganese. In Chinese, this is magnesium. This is manganese or manganese. I can't quite remember it. These are raw materials, like minerals, okay? Minerals. So it's about raw materials, the export of raw materials from China to other countries. So which specific agreement does the second case belong to? It's also for trading goods, because it's also in Chapter 2, disputes for trading goods. They are all goods, raw materials, magnesium, manganese. Export of raw materials. Maybe the specific agreements you're not that familiar with, but there's a relevant provision in GATT 1994, and it relates to Article 11 of GATT 1994 for the quantitative restrictions. Quantitative restrictions. What does that mean? 数量限制. Yes, China restrict the export of raw materials to other countries. And other countries are dissatisfied with China's quantitative restrictions. And that's why China is the respondent in the second case. China raw materials. Okay. And what's about the third case? China what? Yes, good. China rare earths. But rare earths, similar to raw materials, right? Rare earths. Rare earths. Can you name some rare earths? Give me some examples of rare earths. The minerals for the manufacturing of chips, for example. There are a lot of rare earths. Okay. It doesn't matter. We will not give you concrete examples. Okay. Anyway, it's also about the quantitative restrictions of rare earths. So basically, the case number 2 and the case number 3 share one same subject or theme. Both of them are about the quantitative restrictions of either raw materials or rare earths. Both of the cases are related to GATT 1994 Article 11. And the third case, who's the team leader of the team 3? Who is the team leader of the third team, of the third group? Okay, you're lucky enough. Please sit. You're lucky enough because this case has relatively less content because it basically copies the case number 2. You're the luckiest team. Okay. Good. Now let's come back to the section 1, the case 1, U.S. anti-dumping and countervailing duties. First point I'd like to make is about definitive. What's this about? In Chinese, it's called what? Huang Chao. Yes, I noticed that you translated it. And what's the word in Chinese? Yeah. Good. Definitive means the final version. 最终的，确定的。What does that mean? What's that supposed to mean? What is that supposed to mean? Definitive. Do you still remember the anti-dumping duties? Anti-dumping duties. You still remember we learned that in the course of general theory on international economic law. Anti-dumping duties, right? We've got provisional anti-dumping duties. You heard that? Provisional anti-dumping measures. Provisional anti-dumping measures. What is this supposed to mean? Provisional anti-dumping measures. Do you have any memory of that? 临时反倾销措施，有印象吗？ There will be anti-dumping investigation, right? Investigation. And then preliminary, there will be a preliminary conclusion. Yes, there exists dumping. And the measures are provisional anti-dumping measures. You got any memory of that? Okay, good. And then this one is the definitive. Means the result is conclusive. Yeah, it's exactly 终局的. I mean, after the whole investigation, there is a final result on whether there exists dumping. So this is definitive. That means it's for sure. Definitive anti-dumping. Okay. Subsection A, key facts. Subsection B, summary of the dispute. So if you want to learn this course well, I suggest you do some preview of the course, okay? This week, together with the week after next week, we will be dealing with this case, U.S. anti-dumping and countervailing duties. So you'd better make a good preview of that, of this case. Okay. And if you feel like reading a book out of the heaven in the class, my suggestion is translate the teaching materials I sent you into Chinese and then read the translation of the teaching materials and do some preparation work, the preview. Only after that can you follow up my pace in this class. Got it? 如果你在这课上感觉像听天书一样，那么我的建议就是你把我发给你的教材翻译成中文，上课之前进行预习。Okay, let's move on. On this slide, 16. And about actually this case, although judging from the title, it's anti-dumping and countervailing duties, but the core or the main part, the principal part, is about subsidy. What's the difference between subsidy and subsidization? Yes? In Chinese, what's the difference?
一个是动词，一个是名词。
Are you sure?
哦，等一下，这个是形容词哦。
Oh my. Think twice. Think twice. Both of them are nouns. Both of them are nouns. But this one suggests the act, the action, subsidization, action. But this one, subsidy, yeah. But this one suggests the financial contributions, the money itself. This is the act of giving financial contributions. 这个是补贴的钱，这个是补贴的动作。Both of them are nouns, 都是名词。Okay, then we will talk about subsidies. As you can see, this agreement is called subsidies. This one, subsidies. And countervailing measures. 补贴与反补贴措施。 how many subsidies do we, so how many categories or types of subsidies do we have? Subsidies. You never, I'm afraid you never learned of it, but today I will feed you the knowledge directly. We will talk about it next semester in the course of WTO law. Here I'll talk about it in advance, okay? Subsidies can be classified into three types, three categories. The first type is prohibited. Prohibited subsidies means subsidies that are not allowed at all. Prohibited. The second category is actionable. Actionable subsidies. What does this mean? Actionable. Action. To file an action against somebody means what? Bring a lawsuit against somebody, right? Good. Then actionable subsidies means this kind of subsidy can be brought against, can be filed against in a court. In this context, in WTO, 可诉的。禁止的。The third type would be不可诉的。Can you guess the word? Yes. Take a wild guess. 大胆的猜一下。an or none or yin or in. All these prefixes. This one or this one? This one. Non-actionable subsidies. Then, what's the difference between the number 2 and the number 3? What's the difference? One is actionable, the other is non-actionable. But the key point lies here. For the actionable subsidies, the subsidies must be specific. For the non-actionable subsidies, the subsidies must be what specific? What's the opposite of specific? Similar to this. What's the opposite of the specific? Similar. So it should be non-specific. Then, what's the meaning of the specific, being specific in this context? In Chinese, it's called I bet. You must have heard of it. You must heard of it. 你一定听说过。专项的，专项性补贴。You still remember the concept we talked about in the general theory on international economic law? 专项性补贴。What does being specific mean? I'll give you an example, okay? For example, I'm the government. I'm the Zhejiang provincial government. Big enough, okay? I'm the Zhejiang provincial government. And I made an investment. To which company? Not to a specific company. I made an investment to build a high-speed railway station. 高铁站. I made an investment to build a high-speed railway station. Okay? This investment is specific or non-specific. Non-specific, right? Good. Why? Because this high-speed railway station is for public use, for everyone. It's made for everyone. But if I made an investment or I made a financial contribution,财政资助，有印象吧？ If I made a financial contribution to a specific industry or a specific company, then this kind of financial contribution would be specific. Okay? I think I made it clear. I think I've made it clear, okay? Then, if the financial contribution is specific, then it would be actionable in WTO. If the financial contribution is non-specific, then it will be non-actionable in WTO. Okay? Then, what's included in prohibited subsidy? I'll leave a question mark here. And we'll deal with it next semester in the WTO course. Okay? What is prohibited subsidy composed of? 禁止性补贴包括哪几种？我们下学期的 WTO 法再讲，留一个问题。Now let's go on. What agreements are involved in this case? Let's check. And what articles or provisions are involved in this case? Articles 1. What's this number? 6. Okay, good. 6. 1/6 of GATT 1994. And pay attention to the details. They are Roman numerals. And they are Arabic numerals. 罗马数字，阿拉伯数字。 different. You may never ever change this article number into the Arabic numeral, this and this. Never do that. You know why? Because we should respect the original one. We should use the numbers as they are. Because in GATT 1994, the numbers are like this. That's why we use this. Okay? And the numerals in SCM agreement are like this. And that's why we use them. Know why? Okay. We respect the original one. Of the SCM agreement. And what else? And articles of the anti-dumping agreement. The short form is ADA. Okay, ADA. ADA. And one last important agreement is this. The Protocol on the Accession of the People's Republic of China. What does that mean? What's that supposed to mean? 中华人民共和国加入议定书 accession 加入 Its verb form is accede. Accede to what? Accede to the WTO in 2001. Okay? So this is a separate agreement. Just like it may not be accurate, but it's just like a, let me look it up in the dictionary. Cannot remember the words. Ah, 城下之盟. What's that supposed to mean? A treaty signed under coercion. In 2001, when China acceded to the WTO, do you think that agreement is something coerced or volunteered? Well, how to say? Coerced or willing, or according to, or out of willing, from China's willing, from China's will, sorry. Willful. The protocol of accession. You still remember the iPhone? What's the latest version of iPhone? 17, right? 17. Who has that? No? Okay. Do we have an iPhone, for example, 10, right? An iPhone 10 Plus. You still remember that? And in that course of general theory on IEL, I mentioned general obligations and the WTO plus obligations. You still remember that? Yes? Yeah, good. And all the WTO plus obligations are included in this agreement. What are the WTO plus obligations? WTO plus obligations. Extra obligations that will be honored by China. Do you think that fair? Do you think the WTO plus obligations fair for China? It means we need to honor extra, additional obligations besides the general obligations. Like it or not, if you want to join the club, you have to obey, you have to play by our rules. Our rules are just your WTO plus obligations, and they are included in Protocol of Accession. Remember, this agreement is also binding and enforceable upon China. And that's why this agreement is also one of the agreements involved in this case. Look here. On this date, the panel report was circulated to members. These members means everybody. 166 members of WTO. Everybody got it. In its report, the panel addressed the claims made by China. Before this action, the report will first be circulated to the disputants, the parties themselves, including China. And China made its claims. Then the panel addressed the claims made by China. After that, the report was circulated to everyone. I forgot to bring my iPad, so I have to use my cell phone. Too small. Let's go on to talk about the legal issues involved in this case. Panel and appellate body proceedings. The panel concluded as follows. First instance of the case. Regarding China's claims concerning financial contribution by a government, what's China's position on this issue? Financial contribution can be made by only governments or the state-owned enterprises or state-owned commercial banks are also included. In China's position, only the government can make the financial contribution. But in the US position, it held that the state-owned enterprises and commercial banks can also make financial contributions. Who's right? We will talk about it next class. Take a break of 5 minutes first.